Okay. Did anyone learn the Sicha before? No. Okay.
Did it last?
Last year. Okay, second time around we'll do more fair. So this is a famous Sicha. What kind of word we use for it? It's a outstanding Sicha. And really the first time the Rebbe put something like this out, it was given out as a separate separate pamphlet in its own, but it's a Sicha about 770. In fact, the Rebbe requested that 770 should be rebuilt, should be made bigger. Unfortunately, they started the project and then they stopped, and after go to Thomas, it was never continued. But it was Rebbe's request, and in honor and in connection with that request, the Rebbe gave out this Sicha. So first of all, we learn here about a shul in general, and what is the difference between one shul and another, and what is the difference between 770 and other shuls. So let's start the Sicha, begin with this. So Baruch Hashem, this Sicha was done well in Hebrew and in English. I'm going to read the Hebrew, and you can follow me in Hebrew and English. Ala pasuk ve'ehi lohem v'migdash ma'ad ba'rotzes herbor l'shom. There's a pasuk in the book of Yecheskel. Yecheskel was a Navi. He was one of the Navim that went into exile to Babylon. And in Babel, while he was in Babylon, he was prophesizing. And this is one of the psukim in his sefer. Hashem says, I've been a small migdash, a small temple, where the Aratzes in those countries that they arrived, meaning outside of Eretz Yisrael. Shagam b'chutz la'aretz, even outside of Eretz Yisrael, the Mokom was Mana Golus, it's a place of Golus, it was a time of Golus. Nevertheless, Yeshlei Migdash Mat, there's a small Migdash, a miniature base of Migdash. And what does it mean by saying that it's a small Migdash? Meaning it's Me'ain, the Dugmas, HaMigdash HaGodla Sheb Yerushalayim. So that must mean that it's a microcosm, it's a small model of the big base of Migdash. Tanayon, Sheni the base Migdashah. There's another source that says that this would the pasuk it says this is like second to the base of Migdash. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak said, "Elu but the Knesset Migdash." What is it referring to? Where is there a small base of Migdash in Golus? The answer is all the shuls and all the yeshivas in Bavel. They're all miniature base of Migdash. Each one is a small base of Migdash. That's one opinion, Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Lezer said, no, it's a Beis Rabbeinu Shebavel. It refers to the house of our Rebbe in Bavel. Who is his Rebbe? So Rashi says his name was Rav. It wasn't just his Rebbe, he was the Rebbe of all the Jews. He was the leader of the Jewish people. In fact, the word Rav is Aramaic for the word Rebbe. You know, there was someone who was called Rebbe. Who was that? Who? No. Actually, Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi had three names. He's either known by the name Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, he's also known by the name Rabbeinu HaKadosh, our holy Rebbe, or just Rebbe. Like in Pirkei Avos, second chapter, it starts off Rebbe Omer. Doesn't say a name, just Rebbe. The Rebbe says. Why? Because he was the leader of Jewry in Eretz Yisrael. And at the same time, Rav was the leader of Jewry in Bavel. So they called him Rav. So he said that this is referring to specifically his shul, Beis Rabbeinu Shemabavu. So the Rebbe, our Rebbe, which always looks to reconcile and bring peace, not only between two people, but between two opinions also. Yeshleima, that's not really an argument. Rabbi Yitzchak and Rabbi Lezer, they're not really arguing or disagreeing. According to Rabbi Lezer, all the shuls and all the yeshivas are also called a miniature Beis Hamikdash. And according to the opinion of Rabbi Yitzchak, there's something more primary about one specific shul, which is the shul of Rav. In other words, what we're saying is they're not arguing. Everyone agrees that every shul and every yeshiva, being that it's a place that's dedicated to Torah study or dedicated for prayer, the difference between a shul and yeshiva is Beis HaKnesses means dedicated to prayer. And Beis Medrash means dedicated for studying Torah. Being that it's dedicated to that, it's like a small miniature Beis Hamikdash. And then the other one says, no, it's this. So he's not saying no. He's saying, even though every shul and every yeshiva is included, but there's one that stands out, and it's even more of a model or a similar or connected to the original Beis Hamikdash. Hataya Rabbeinu, why is he called Rabbeinu? Why did he say the house of our Rebbe? Hashem Shemalamed Torah L'Tamid, because he teaches Torah. That's why it's called Rebbe. I mean, he had other qualities. He was a leader. He was a person who came for advice. But specifically, the Torah Rabbeinu means he teaches Torah. Who Beis Medrash, Umeilu Gam Beis HaKnesses. Even though Rebbe means a place of learning Torah, maybe not a shul, but it's really connected. Because it says in Gemara that a person should be davening and studying Torah in the same place. And that's the way it is in most shuls today. So the 7th or any other shul, where you daven, that's where you study. Where you study, that's where you daven. So therefore, they're both the same. And what is the difference? Let's turn to the next page, page 21. Umayli is Seder, Beis HaKnesses, Beis Medrash, Beis Rabbeinu. What is the Maila? What is the advantage? In what way is it different compared to other shuls and other yeshivas? So it's based on what Chazal say. There's a pasuk. It's a pasuk in Tehillim, and the pasuk says, "Oyev Hashem Shari Tzir." Hashem loves the gates of Zion. Mikol Mishkanis Yaakov, from all the dwelling places of the Jewish people. What does it mean? Oyev Hashem Shari. Hashem loves the gates Hamatziyonim ba'Halacha that stand out with they're exceptional in terms of halacha. That's the place where you teach halacha, Torah, and that's greater than but the Knesset, about the Midrashs. Those shuls where they specifically teach halacha. And the Gemara concludes, from the day that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Hashem doesn't have a place in this world. The only place he has, which is similar to Beis Hamikdash, is Arba Amash Halacha, the 4 cubits where you study halacha. What about the Beis Hamikdash itself? Was that connected to halacha? It was a place where we brought sacrifices. The Rebbe says, no, we're forgetting that was the source of halacha. How's that? Next line. In the Beis Hamikdash, there was a room called Lishchas HaGozes. And what was that room? Misham, it says, the Sanhedrin, their place, where were they situated? In the Beis Hamikdash. And they were situated in this room called Lishchas HaGozes. And from there, halachic ruling went out to the whole country. So in those days, things were very different than now. Now, halachic ruling in my community is according to the Rav of my community. In your community is by the Rav of your community. In those days, there was one Sanhedrin. They gave the halachic ruling for all the Yidden that lived in Eretz Yisrael around the world. They were the central sort of headquarters and source for halacha. And where were they situated? In the Beis Hamikdash. And certain, this is all the Gemara. And the Shechina dwells with them, and that's why they're the source of halacha. Achshav, now that the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, where's the Shechina found? In the 4 cubits of halacha. In other words, that shul or that yeshiva where they teach halacha, that's where Hashem is found, because that's very similar to the Beis Hamikdash. And who is it today? Beis Rabbeinu, the house of Rab, because he was the authority of halacha in his days. Because of this special quality, unique quality of the shul and the yeshiva of Beis Rabbeinu, the Gabi Shabbat, can see is about the Midrash of Babel. Because of that, you can't compare him, all the other shuls and yeshivas, to Rav. He was the highest authority of Torah in his generation. Harei hu Migdash Ma. That's why his shul was considered a miniature Beis Hamikdash, which means it was the primary place. This is the place that Hashem provides for us in the time of Golus, a place that which should be Tumuras, a substitute for the Beis Hamikdash that used to stand in Yerushalayim. So basically, the Gemara is saying that in every generation, Hashem, even though he destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, we don't have sort of the Beis Hamikdash itself, but we have something which is a substitute. And that substitute really is every single shul and every yeshiva. But there's one shul which is like the major substitute and the primary substitute, and that's where the Rab's shul is, because he was the highest authority of Torah in his generation. Clear? Okay. So what this implies is that there are different levels even in shuls. I'll soon explain that a little bit more, but first let me do another few lines inside. Yesh lahavi raya, we can also bring more proof that even though it says that all the shuls and all the yeshivas are miniature Beis Hamikdash, nevertheless there are levels. How do we know this? What's written in the beginning of the Gemara. The beginning of the Gemara, it says that the Shekhinah dwells with Yidden in the time of Golus. And it goes like this: B'chol makom shegolu, wherever Yidden went to Golus, Shekhinah imahim. Golul the Mitzrayim, when the Jewish people were in Golus in Mitzrayim, Shekhinah was with them. Golul the Bavel, when the Yidden went to Bavel, the Shekhinah was with them. And the same with the other times when they went to Persia, when they went to different countries, wherever they went, meaning the majority of Yidden were found, that's where the Shekhinah went, because the Shekhinah comes along with us. And that's what it means. The Shekhinah is in Golus with us. Then the Gemara says, in Bavel, if you say the Shekhinah is in Bavel, where is it in Bavel? In other words, yes, it's in Bavel, but is there a specific location in Bavel itself where it's found? Amar Abaye, yes. You know which shul it is? There's a city there called Hutzal, and in that shul, that's where the Shekhinah is found primarily. Then he says, Ubnei Knishta the Shav Yosef. There's another shul in another city called Nardo, and in that shul there, that's where the Shekhinah is found. Then the Gemara continues, it doesn't mean the Shekhinah is in two places. No, it means different time. There was a time that it was in this shul, and there was a time it was in a different shul. What's the difference? It means when the leader of the generation was in this shul, the Shekhinah was in this shul. When the leader of the generation was in the other city, Nardo, then it was in that shul. So the novelty in this concept that the Shekhinah is with the Yidden in Golus, and in Golus itself in very specific locations. You can also see from what it says further in the Gemara. First, I want to give an introduction. If the Shekhinah is there, the Shekhinah is there. How can there be differences? So there's something in the Gemara itself, and I think he brings it down a little bit later also, that the Gemara says there are 10 levels of holiness. What are the 10 levels of holiness? If I remember all 10, but you'll get the idea. The city of Yerushalayim, Eretz Yisrael, is considered holier than all other countries in the world. It's called Eretz HaKodesh, the Holy Land. Yerushalayim is holier than all of Eretz Yisrael. And that's why there are certain laws that apply to Yerushalayim, but they don't apply to any other city. In Yerushalayim itself, the mountain has certain halachas that all of Yerushalayim doesn't have. That's another level of holiness. On the mountain itself, the spot where the Beis Hamikdash stood is even holier. In the Beis Hamikdash itself, there were different chambers. This part is holier than that. The next part is holier than that. And the holiest place is Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies. What does it mean when we say there are 10 levels of holiness? So you got to ask a more basic question. What does holy mean? What does it mean when we say something's holy? The day is a holy day, or the place is a holy place. So in simple English, in simple language, it means that Hashem's presence is in this place more than in other places. That's what the definition of holiness means. That Hashem, who is the source of holiness, he is found in all of Eretz Yisrael. But he's found on a more conscious level, in a more concentrated level in Yerushalayim, and in a greater level on the mountain, and in a greater level in this chamber, and a greater level in the next chamber. In other words, when we say there are 10 levels of holiness, this is like saying there are 10 levels of the presence of the Shekhinah. Initially, it sounds like a hard concept. How can there be levels? If the Shekhinah is there, okay, Shekhinah is everywhere. So what does holy mean? Is there in a more revealed way? If it's more revealed, then where are the levels? This is a mashal that's brought down in the mind from the Alter Rebbe, helps us understand it a little bit better. Alter Rebbe brings a mashal of memory. If I'm studying a certain subject, and a year ago I studied another subject, what I studied a year ago and I know the material well, is it still in my head or it's gone? How do I know that it's still there? If someone asks me a question, I remember, it means it's still there. Okay. So if it's there, how come I'm not aware of it? Right. The language we use is it's in the subconscious. I mean, subconscious, that just means what the word is. It's there, but I'm not conscious of it, but it still exists. So that's an example of something that is in the room, but it's beheaven, it's hidden. So there could be the Hashem's presence in this room. I don't see anything, I don't feel anything, I don't hear anything, but it's still there. Just like the Gemara that I learned a year ago is in my head, but I'm not thinking about it right now. So it's not in my conscious head, but it's there in my head. And the proof is, he asked me a question, I know the answer. What happens if someone asks me another question about something I learned 5 years ago, and I say, I don't remember, let me think a little bit, I think for 10 minutes ago, yeah, I know, this is it. Was that in my head or also not? So then why couldn't I remember right away?
Buried in the depths.
What?
It was buried in the depths of your memory.
It's a little bit buried in the depth of my memory. So it takes me 10 minutes to get it. How come something takes me half an hour?
Even more buried.
Yeah, how come something takes me a day or two?
It's very, very good.
How many layers of depth are there in the brain, would you say? Many. Okay. In fact, the answer would probably be infinite. If you go back to everything in your memory, what you remember more or less, you're more aware, more clear, these are all levels of depth. The deeper it is, the harder it is for me to bring it up to the surface. So the same here. Hashem's presence is in Eretz Yisrael. It's also in Yerushalayim. It's also on the base of Mikdash. It's also on the mountain. But each place, it's closer to the surface than the other place. So those are the 10 different levels of holiness. So therefore we can say that every shul is holy, every yeshiva is holy, and yet there's a certain place that has more holiness, meaning godliness is more revealed, it's closer to the surface in this place more than another place. That's all that it means. So now he's going to explain what would be the difference. Another thing would be the difference between this main shul, which was in this city, or all the other shuls and all the other yeshivas, which are spread out all over Babylon. Piece there, based on what we just said, Yesh Leimar, we can say, Shebehem Shabdivri Gemara, as the Gemara continues, and the Gemara says, in Babylon itself, Heicha, where was it? What does that question mean? He said all the shuls and all the yeshivas. And the Gemara points out to a specific shul. It means that in this shul in the city of Hutzah, or the other shul in the city of Nardoi, the Dubra Oid is Gilu Shechina Ba'ofen Naila Yosef, it means a place where the Shekhinah is more revealed than it is in other places, in other shuls. In fact, even though this is not, it's not Chassidus, where's the source? 1 second, let me see. The source is Rashi. Look at Rashi's word. It's a place where the presence of Hashem's Shekhinah is more recognized than other places. In our language, it means it's more revealed. Got it?
What is Rashi?
What is Rashi or where is Rashi?
No, where is Rashi?
In the Gemara. But if you look on the side, it says footnotes 19. Look on page 25.
Right.
And look over here on top.
Okay.
It says Pirush Rashi. These words, Mokem Shenikosh Yisherisham, a place. Rashi gives an explanation of what I remember asking many people, what does it mean that Hashem is in the Beis Hamikdash or Hashem is in a shul? Isn't Hashem everywhere? And very often you find people who don't study Chassidus or anything, or like, yeah, I don't know. Good question.
Maybe in most.
So I just finished explaining. It's more revealed. Revealed doesn't mean I see it with my eyes. Just like, for example, what I learned a year ago is more revealed in my memory than what I learned 10 years ago, even though it's also there. More revealed means it's closer to the surface. It's more accessible. We can reach it more. So, for example, for me to go into a shul, it's easier in a shul, in the normal setting, to be more sort of sensitive spiritually than in the street. And in the Beis Hamikdash, it'll be more sensitive than in the regular shul because there's more godliness, more revealed godliness there. There's one specific place, that's the place that Hashem has as a substitute for the Beis Hamikdash. That over there, the Shekhinah is there more. So let's say you have a shul that the people there are simple people. They don't really study much Torah. You have another shul where the people who daven there are tzaddikim and they learn Torah and they're very righteous. So obviously in the presence of such people, there's more Shekhinah and more. They're at a different level depending on who the shul is. But there's one shul that over there, the Shekhinah is there in the strongest way. And that is, like the Gemara says, don't say it's here and here. Sometimes it's in one place, sometimes it's another place, meaning it depends on who is the tzaddik of that generation. The Inyan this in itself, that is one shul which becomes the substitute, like the Mamala Makom of the Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim, is actually alluded to in the name. The name of that shul is Bnei Krishna, the Shof, the Yosef, and Ador. These words are Aramaic. What does it mean? Shof Yosef means in Hebrew, Nosa Migdash v'Yoshav Sham. It means that the Beis Hamikdash traveled from Yerushalayim and it settled over there. So the Beis Hamikdash, in a spiritual sense, is destroyed. So where did it travel to? This still in Yerushalayim, in Golos, in Babel. This unique level of Shekhinah that was in the Beis Hamikdash, there was no other place in the world. That unique level of Shekhinah traveled, came to Babel, and it settled in this shul, which is in that city. So from this we can understand when the Gemara talks about a miniature Beis Hamikdash, the same applies. In addition to the fact that every shul is a miniature Beis Hamikdash, which means that every shul Hashem's presence is more revealed. Yeshnoi Hamikdash Mat is one shul which is the primary miniature Beis Hamikdash, and that's the shul that's the substitute for the Yerushalayim Beis Hamikdash. Which one is it? Beis Rabbeinu Shebebavel Shenasa. It traveled the Yoshav Sham and it settled over there. So in Golos is one shul that the Beis Hamikdash and the holiness of the Beis Hamikdash was sort of relocated to this place in Babel. Any questions on this, or it's clear? Yes.
This the shul that more
Hasidim, tzaddikim, learn there, so it's more.
Yeah, if it's a place where people are learning and davening and doing mitzvahs, there's another shul where people are also there, but they're not so much learning, not so much
But
davening.
it's not like all the Jewish, like, the same.
Yid not the same, but what Torah and mitzvahs bring more godliness. So if this Yid brings more Torah and more mitzvahs, there's going to be more godliness revealed. In other words, yes, all Yidden are a place where Hashem dwells in Shekhinah. But we're saying there's an additional level in a place where there is observance of Torah and mitzvahs. Now there's another difference. The other difference is something that's going to happen when Mashiach comes. Void v'ikar. So now we're going on to page 27. Another point is, even after the Yidden will go out of Golus, and he will no longer be in Golus, Nimshech is Gam, Yishem Asidim Legoel. The difference, advantage of this one shul will be seen when they go out of Golus. Why? It says like this. Asidim Boteknisi, Sabotim Midrasha Shababavel, Shiyikavu Beretz Yisrael. One of the things that it says about Mashiach is that all the shuls and all the yeshivas that used to be in Bavel will be uprooted from where they are, and Hashem will bring them to Eretz Yisrael. Which means that this building is going to be relocated to Eretz Yisrael. Does this mean literally? As far as I'm concerned, why not? Unless we can prove otherwise. Why? Because it's miraculous. The whole Mashiach and Gul is miraculous. But that's what it says. In other words, there won't be any need for shuls outside because everyone's going to be in Eretz Yisrael. Let's read the words inside. The fact that the Shekhinah goes to all the places we Yidden are in Golus, so when they're in Bavel, Hashem goes to Bavel. When they're in Egypt, Hashem goes to Egypt. When they're in Rome, Hashem goes to Rome. The reason for that is because we're in Golus. That only happens when we're in Golus. But once we go out of Golus, in the future we go back there to Yisrael, no reason why Hashem Shechina should be in Golus. Tavzar Gila Shechina Yerushalayim. Hashem Shechina will come back to be in Yerushalayim. And the Shechina will no longer be in the place where in the past Yidden were in Golus. It won't be there. Why should it be there? It was the past. It's not going to be in that place in Chutz La'aretz on the Eastern Parkway on this block, because the Beis Hamikdash Mat will not be there anymore. Where's it going to be? It'll be uprooted from its place where it is now. It'll be relocated to Eretz Yisrael, and it'll be connected to the big Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim. And this explains another thing that it says in Gemara. Therefore, the Gemara says, the Midrash said, not the Gemara, the Midrash says, in the future, Yeh Beis Hamikdash Gadol B'Yerushalayim Shabayla Mazeh. That the Eibishter says that the Beis Hamikdash will be the size of Yerushalayim. It's pretty huge. Why? The piece of Yerushalayim Abnuya LaAsid Yeh Chubra LaMikdash Yachdav Kol Makayim Shabbat Knesi Shabayla Mazeh. All the shuls and all the yeshivas that used to be in Golus are going to be transported to Israel. Where they're going to be connected to the Beis Hamikdash. So the Beis Hamikdash is going to be with tens of thousands of additional rooms. Each one's going to be another shul that was there in Golus. So it'll be huge, like the whole city of Yerushalayim.
So
By the way, all this is not the Rebbe's Sicha. Everything that we're reading now, if you look at the footnote, everything has a source. The Rebbe says amazing things here about 770. There's an interesting story with this Sicha. Somebody told the story publicly. He was on the plane when the Sicha came out, and he knew the Rebbe says like amazing things about 770, and he was studying the Sicha on the plane. right next to him was sitting somebody who was not a Chabad Chassid, didn't look like one. In fact, he looked like he belonged to a camp which was perhaps in opposition to Chabad. So when he was reading it, he sort of covered it, that the person shouldn't see what it says there, because he thought he'd probably get very upset. Reading. After an hour or two, the guy says, by the way, you don't have to cover it. I know what it says there. In fact, I learned the whole thing. Really? Why would you learn it? So it says, when this came out, I made a little bit of a commotion in our community. Some of the rabbis decided that we have to come out with a statement against what it says here. That's 770. So we took a few young men from the Kolo, told us to learn it and make all the points of the things that are like heresy or whatever. We learned it, and we were shocked to find that everything it says, it has a source. This is in Gemara, this is in the Marsha, this is in this commentary. There was nothing new here. The only thing new was that the Rebbe only explained that what the Gemara talks about in this generation, that generation, and our generation, it's 770. But the idea that there's such a shul, and the shul like the Beis Hamikdash, all these different things we're learning now, all come from Gemara and mainly from the Marsha. That's a very, very big, primary commentary on Gemara, Marsha. So these words, that when Mashiach comes, all the shuls are going to be connected to the Beis Hamikdash. So the Beis Hamikdash will be huge, and it'll be as big as the whole Yerushalayim. That's not something which is, the Sicha is bringing out. This is from Gemara and the Marsha. And this is also hinted in the words, Rabbi Majeski, I will bring you to my holy mountain and enjoy the house of prayer. It'll be a house of prayer for all the nations of the world. That the base philosophy, when it says it'll be a house of prayer, that all the nations of the world will come there to pray, that alludes to the Beis Hamikdash. In Govos, in Korel Cholamim, these are the shuls and the yeshivas. Being that the shuls and the yeshivas that were in Govos are going to be transported to Israel, and they're all going to be connected to the Beis Hamikdash, and then all the nations will come to daven. They'll be davening in these shuls, which before they were in Golos, and now they're here, part of the Beis Hamikdash, all the nations will come to daven there. So this is another source for this idea that all the shuls and all these shivas will be connected to Yerushalayim, and therefore it'll be huge. By the way, I don't know, there's a very famous commentator on the news, a Jewish guy called Ben Shapiro. So he writes that he observed the situation, and when did Trump's numbers begin to explode? After he went to the O. I guess he's not a Chabad person, but I guess he must have watched and tracked how the votes were going. And the mere fact that non-Jews come to the Beis Hamikdash to daven, or they come to a shul to daven, or they understand to come to a tzaddik to daven, that itself is part of the thing that Mashiach will bring, that the whole world will recognize that everything comes from Hashem and comes through Torah and through the Beis Hamikdash and through shul and yeshivas. Okay.
Not Jew can davening in Sidur, like Jew.
A non-Jew can daven Beis Hamikdash also. Beis Tefillah Yikarei L'Chol Amim. Translate the words.
Okay.
It's a house of Tefillah L'Chol Amim to all the nations of the world. They also can bring korbanos. Non-Jews can bring a korban. Beis Hamikdash.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think I mentioned at Sukkot that the Gemara says if the non-Jews would know how much bracha they get from the Beis Hamikdash, not only they wouldn't have destroyed it, they would have surrounded it with legions of soldiers and protected it that nobody should do any damage to the Beis Hamikdash. So this would apply, let's say, the Rambam Shul in his time, the Rashi Shul in his times. all the other tzaddikim, especially those who were the leaders of Jewry in their generation, that shul would have the same status as the shul in Bava that belonged to Rab. Yeah.
What about like experience with the Saudi, like the Baal Shem Tov said, like now it's widely accepted, but in this time it wasn't full of acceptance. So would this shul be considered like the main shul because the emes, like now we know that?
Yeah. By the way, the same as with the Rambam. There was a time that the Rambam was also not accepted. You know that? No. There was a time that they burned the Rambam Svarim publicly. We'll talk about it more when we get to the Rambam's yard sale. We have a talk about it. He was also initially, because he wrote a book which is called The Guide to the Perplexed, that's more philosophical, and a lot of people got perplexed from reading the Guide to the Perplexed. So they accused him of heresy and that he this and that. And only later they found out, I mean, this was during his lifetime, but still, there was a big controversy initially. To the extent, there's a very famous, one of the great famous sages named Rabbi Majeski. He wrote a book on tshuva. And many people studied it. And I think he wrote that the reason why he wrote this book, he was one of the people involved in burning or telling people they could burn the Rambam's books. As a form of tshuva, he wrote this book. So it was like, we find this in Chumash with Yosef. You know, he was a tzaddik. In fact, he was greater than the brothers, but they misunderstood him and they thought that he's the opposite. The Arizal had this when he first started. People thought that he was doing things that are not according to Torah. So later, once things were clear, what's emes, so what's up? For Hashem, it was always clear. Those for people wasn't clear. But if you say next paragraph is really an incredible thing. And that is that this means that this room we're in right now, and this room is going to be connected to some English. It means we're sitting in a room which in the future will be part of the some English. It reminds me of a story in Gemara where I think it was Rabbi Yechanan said, expounded on a certain pasuk, and he said in the Beis Mikdash you're going to have diamonds that are huge, and he gave the size of the diamond. So one of the students was thinking to himself, come on, that's not a packet. You can't even find a diamond that's the size of an egg. You're going to find a diamond that's like a huge window or something. Then he traveled somewhere, came to an island, and he saw malachim. Obviously, he wasn't an ordinary student either. He saw angels, and they're running back and forth carrying these huge diamonds. And he said to them, what are you doing? So we're preparing this for the third Beis HaMikdash. Oh, so my Rebbe was right. He went back to him and he said, you know, you were right. Continue to teach Torah. You're really right. Unfortunately, he said the wrong thing and something happened to him because basically he was telling his Rebbe, I didn't believe what you said. And he said it to him in the face. So he suffered because of that. But I'll ask ourselves a question. If I would be on an island somewhere and someone would say, you see this box? When Mashiach comes, it's going to be part of the Beis HaMikdash. Let me touch it. Let me hold it. This is going to be part of the actual Beis HaMikdash. This is the wood we're going to build this room. So in a sense, this room we're sitting in will be part of the Beis HaMikdash. It doesn't bring this in the Sicha, but someone showed me something very interesting in the Chumash. The Gemara says there's a pasuk in Shema, which we say every day. Your children will live a long life on the land of Israel, which means that only the people who live in the land of Israel will have a long life. So the Gemara asked, how could you say that? There's so many people that live here outside of Israel, and they also have a long life. The Gemara answers, the answer is, but they go to shul every day, and they daven, so therefore they deserve to have a long life. So the Kli Yakar, one of the Mefarshim of the Chumash, asked the question. It's very nice, they deserve to have a long life, but it still doesn't answer the question. It says in the Chumash, only those who live on the land will have a long life. So true, they daven, they learn, they do good things, but it hasn't answered the question. They don't live in Eretz Yisrael. And this is his answer. Being that the shuls and yeshivas will be transported to Eretz Yisrael, that means this very floor that they're standing on will one day be in Eretz Yisrael. So when they're in the shul, they are in Eretz Yisrael. They're in a place which in the future will be part of Eretz Yisrael. And therefore they have long life. That's the answer.
Wow.
Okay, we'll stop right here on page 28. And to be continued, Mir Hashem, I think, when do we do it again? Friday, right? Friday. Look, there you go. Thank you, brother.